Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Worlds Collide. And wow, what an amazing weekend it was. The first ever wrestling card VirtualCon, first time ever wrestling card only show. Tony, what'd you think?
I think it was a big success. I was nervous about it. I think I mentioned that one of the nights. I can't remember which one, but it was a big success. And I'm thankful for everybody who came and joined us, showed off what they had. I'm hoping some people made some sales out of it, some new connections, hopefully. I thought it was fun. I thought it was great. I was nervous about it, more from a technical standpoint.
Sure.
But it seemed to go pretty smooth for us.
Yeah,
outside of our bum box break, except for that last four packs. But night two was crazy.
At least we were able to pull one auto. That was a little bit of a saving grace, but it was fun to break boxes, and it kind of gives me. I'm excited to go break boxes with Star Stock now because I just had fun with the banter, talking about the cards and, making fun of them or saying, oh man, that's like a legitimate good card. It might go for this amount of money. Talking about meat sauce mania when we're pulling the Virgil cards. Like, it was just a fun time. Once again, I want to thank all the vendors who participated, and I want to thank everybody who participated in the box break. Again, all of the money from that box break went to the Alabama Children's Hospital. And once again, me and Tony talk about, being involved all the time. And the day of the show, I had people reaching out, hey, is a box break spot available? Is a vendor spot available? That's why you guys need to follow us on social platforms, subscribe to the YouTube channels and this podcast, and just get the word out to everybody. If you're into wrestling cards, share it with everybody that likes wrestling or sports cards, because we're trying to spread the word out. And the more that we can get the word out to people, the more people are going to know about things like this. So maybe, the next time the wrestling VirtualCon turns into, instead of a 6-hour thing, maybe it's like a, all day thing one day, or maybe it's like a 6-hour thing for 2 days in a row. I don't know what we're going to do.
There's going to be another one. What?
There might be. We don't know. We don't know.
And before we do have another one, if we do have another one, I think we will. Love to hear people's comments, suggestions. What can we do better? What can we drop? We moving fast enough? Just give us your suggestions to make the show better, and so that people can come on and have a good time.
And like I said, thanks. Just I can't believe me and Tony talking about this. It's an idea that just kind of spurred into our heads one day, and we just started talking about it, and then it's over. Like, we did it.
I'm pretty sure you came to me and said, idea, boom, and like a bullet point idea, like you typically do. And then
I don't remember, to be honest.
And then I'll say something like, hey, that's a good idea. And all of a sudden, boosh, a long message from you, like all these, like, wow, apparently he's been thinking about this. And we just kind of talked about it, going back and forth. I'm like, yeah, I did a VirtualCon thing once before. It didn't really work out too well. I'm not sure, but it sounds interesting. Let's kind of fleshed it out. And here we are after we're done. I'm sweaty. I'm ready to, take a shower, go into the next town and wrestle again.
Yeah, and speaking of going to the next town, we brought you this specific podcast today, just with the interview featuring I'll call them the NWO, because they basically just invaded this podcast. And Tony turned against me. I was Eric Bischoff sitting in there, and I had Hogan, I had Nash, and I had Hall. They were just staring me down. I was getting ready to get power bombed through a table, and I talked them out of it.
Dude, I'm so glad that the Card Foundation guys came over and sat with us, and we chatted for a bit, get their perspective, learn some new things about them that didn't know about them, just listen to their show, which, again, I have to always say, it's a very polished show. I keep using that word polished because it just sounds so professional to me with the sound bites. And the guys, they know their stuff. They know their stuff. They specialize in their modern era stuff. They know it, and they come well prepared. And I was so happy that they said, yeah. When you told me, like, hey, I got the Card Foundation guys to come on, I go, really? And you're like, yeah. Like, they're going to come on? Like, yeah. I'm like, why am I thinking it's like this competition thing that we can't have people? No, that's the beautiful thing about the wrestling card community, man. It's like we all want to help each other. We all want this to grow. And
that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, and they even say it that you'll hear them say this, that they thought we were going to call them out on something if they were wrong. And I'm like, no, guys, like it's like we need more content. We need more wrestling card content creators. Yep. So thanks to the Card Foundation guys. You guys are going to love this episode today. A lot of things to learn, a lot of great opinions between the four of us. And if you guys, I keep saying this, I don't know why. It's like I have this like, I don't know if I'm seeing into the future or what, but I think there's some people out there that want to start doing wrestling card content. And just hit the record button. Just do it. You'll figure it out. Just start doing it if you do have a passion for wrestling cards. Tony, you got any parting words before we get into our discussion with the Card Foundation guys?
Oh man, I think it's just been it's been crazy. It's been a couple months in the making for us, which doesn't sound like a long time in the grand scheme of things, but plan something out for you and I mean, we'll flesh out our our episodes like that. Like, here's our topics, boom, boom. We each do our homework and that's it. But this was some like, we're gonna do this, and that's like, wow, this is gonna be something that could be pretty big. And I'm very happy with people's comments, and they like what we did, and I'm looking forward to talking to these guys, man. It's great to have them on, and looking forward to it.
Yep. Onward and upward for WrestlingTradingCards.com and the Worlds Collide podcast, Wrestling with Cards. Guys, subscribe to all of our platforms, the videos, the podcasts that you're listening to. Subscribe to everything. Continue to support. The more support that we see, the more things we can do. So, thanks. Share this episode and all episodes, and just get the word out. Yep. And leave a comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Just the feedback is great, and comments can build networks. Like us reaching out to the Card Foundation guys, who knows where that goes now. So all about networking, building community, and most importantly, having fun over an interesting hobby that is wrestling cards. So hope you guys enjoy this talk that we have today with the Card Foundation guys. Please subscribe, leave a review. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Our special guests here. Should I let them in? Are they all here? I have two. Why not? Who's the third man? Who is the third man of the three? Oh, I'm letting them in. I'm letting them in. We're in for a lot of trouble. We're in for trouble. Oh no. Maybe. Are we gonna have another Aaron situation where someone's camera doesn't work? I got one. There's one. Oh my God. What is up? What's up? Look who it is. What's going on, guys? What's up? All right, I got to do this one. I am the third man. Oh, here we go. Oh, he's turning on us. Yeah, let's go. I'm the damn third man. I love it. What? Let's go. What? Love it. Got me waiting in the waiting room. Guys, how you guys doing, man? What's up? What's up? Too long. I'm glad you invited us. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Zhan, for even having us on this, and it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm legit nervous. I'm nervous. How can you be nervous, man? We hear you guys. Your guys' show flows so well and so like seamless. Thank you. I love listening to it. I have a few episodes to catch up on, but it's like, don't be nervous, man. Come on, man. You guys are like had to have like the pros. Some main event talent for the main event of night one. So if we got some jabronis in the chat that don't know who you guys are, go ahead and introduce yourself. We are Johnny the Card Foundation. No, I go first. I go first. Sorry, Papa Bear. You ruined it. I'm Papa Bear from the Card Foundation, and as with me as always is Johnny. And as with me as always. Yes, we were always. How together. How do you know he's not? I'm not his sidekick. Yeah. I think if everyone that listens knows that we are Papa Bear's sidekick for sure. Yeah. And, this is awesome. Unfortunately, Danny couldn't make it with us today. He's he whisked his fiance away on like some scary Halloween haunted tour. They're up in Salem for the weekend. Interesting. It's mobile phone, dude. Dial that shit in. Well, what a coincidence that the third man ended up being Tony. It ended up being me anyways. Yeah. Perfect. We are honored for Tony to be the third man tonight. Oh, this is awesome, man. I love this shirt so much. It's a good quality shirt, and I just had to show support, man. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
The Major Wrestling Figure Podcast wanted me to fly me out to Vegas to do live 10. I said, I got Tony and Zhan. I got to do the wrestling card podcast. And they're like, all right, we understand.
So we just got a bunch of random questions for you guys. We'll hang out for the next 30 minutes, hour, whatever you got. So
whatever you got.
I don't know who was first, Tony, me, somebody else, but shortly after you guys were up, like, where did you start with just the content creation? Like, what spurred you to start doing that? And then how's it been for you guys just going forward, creating content for people?
I guess I'll kind of start the origin story here. So Danny and I guess about a year or so ago, maybe like almost 2 years ago, started a podcast about baseball cards. So it was called Caught Looking. And we did that for, I guess, about a year or so. And, being big wrestling fans, we obviously collected everything at the time. And we had met Paul through going to some of the meetups with the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. So we'd go hang out with them. And that's how we met Paul. Paul also started listening to our show. So we started, the three of us started talking, and we said, we'd like to do this style of a show, basically just kind of nerding out about wrestling cards. Since the three of us, that's what we were collecting at the time. We were always in a group chat talking about stuff. So we finally decided just to jump in and do it. And, we started just recording episodes and putting out the podcast. And then that led to, social media, because you have to have social media now,
right,
to promote your stuff and everything. So we launched, our Twitter and our Instagram. And now we just launched a YouTube page. So we're going to be kind of doing what we do over on Instagram, where we do like the box breaks and stuff like that. We're going to be doing some of that over on YouTube. And yeah, that's basically where we're at today.
Oh, so now I know who the sidekick is now. I know who it is now.
Explain. I just, when I was listening to their podcast, they have the baseball card podcast. I was listening to it. I just started getting back into collecting cards, probably like 6 months before the pandemic, before the boom. Because my friend Filth Bomb Breaks, my friend started that company. He's in my town. I went there. I was like, man, I haven't collected cards in a while. So I went there. He got me itchy again. Next thing I know, I'm buying like a lot of boxes of baseball cards. And collecting baseballs became real expensive.
Right.
And then listen to Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. It's like kind of like wrestling cards. And then you look at the prices compared to the other. And I just dove headfirst right into wrestling cards and haven't looked back. I'm so happy I did. It just
such an underappreciated and undervalued.
So underappreciated.
Genre. Yeah.
It's crazy underappreciated.
But
the Rock's helping us out though.
Didn't you guys didn't you went to New York Comic Con, right?
So Danny actually was there.
Danny went there.
Yep. Danny went. He was able to go and kind of check out the AEW booth, and he was kind of walking around and just getting an idea of the feel of the wrestling card boom that kind of took over Comic-Con, because I think once AEW put out that promo sheet, that was it.
Some bitch.
I love it.
You guys were talking about people running and getting stacks of those on the last show. Here's a guy.
Well, as soon as I saw that, man, I put in a call my friend out in Jersey who was going, and he's like, "Yeah, I totally, I'll pick up whatever I can from you." He goes, "I got you a small stack. I don't want to be too greedy."
Oh man.
Well, Danny ended up doing the same thing. So Danny got there on, it was, I think, the second day. And by the second day, I think people started posting that they were only giving out one, because I guess the first day, everyone was going and taking 15, which I would have done the same thing.
Of course.
So if they're not putting on limits on it, why not?
Exactly. So Danny ended up texting us and saying, hey, they're only giving out one. So we said, you got to work your magic and, make it work. So
make it work.
Called us back like an hour later and said, I got the stack. You guys are good to go. We each got our sheets. So
yeah,
I mean, buying them on eBay.
Tops is famous for doing that at shows, man. They would just give out like these promo cards from.
Yep.
I mean, at Comic-Con San Diego, I have a brick of them. It's just
awesome.
By the end of the day on Sunday, people who didn't want them, they were just handing out 500 count boxes full of them.
Wow.
Just take them.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the AEW cut sheets? You think they're going to be big in the future? Are you ripping any of them? Are you?
I don't know if I'm going to rip any of them. Me personally, I'm going to keep just one for myself. I'm just not the collector I used to be. I'm a PC guy now. I collect Kurt Angle stuff. He's a client. He's someone that is a friend. So I'm just going to collect him. That's it. Otherwise, I'm going to collect one for myself. I don't know what I'm going to do with the other ones. I have 9 left.
Well, we gave one
I
away
wanna-
tonight earlier.
Yep, we gave one away.
I was on, if the Britt Baker was in like the middle or the side, I would probably send one to PSA right now
Yeah.
at the $150 mark.
Yeah,
But that's a tough spot in that corner.
it
That's,
is. And all of them, I'm going
it
to tell you right now, look at I'm not a grader of any. I got one of hers I think would be decent. The rest,
Mhm.
they all got a little dink in the corners, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I have one that I thought was pretty good. I put it in a top loader, that size, and I kind of put that away. I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it. I have like 4 or 5 more that I'm just kind of holding on to for now. But
What do you guys think about like that perforated stuff, like cards like that? I mean, how does a card that's perforated get a 10?
yeah.
This is a Papa Bear question right there, baby.
I wouldn't have started it. I would have never gave one a 10. But once one's a 10, you might as well start grading the other ones as 10s if they're as close to it. I don't know how they do it.
So they don't have a definition of what a 10 should be at from a perforated standpoint.
I know
like,
they not count the notches, but every notch has to be perfect. Like there can't be a missing notch. It's got to be basically ripped out perfectly. I sent in actually a lot of the Stone Cold from the WWE magazine, the cards in. I sent those in.
got some behind me.
So I peeled them nice and neat. So wondering how they come back.
How do you do that? Like, what's the? Give us some tips, man. Like I don't know if I want to do that.
So when you take it out of the magazine, cut it out of the magazine, cut the whole side out of the magazine, and then honestly, like a 15 folds each way on a flat surface, and just like if you could peel it apart slowly and it peels apart, it's nice and easy. It'll come right apart.
Almost like some good ribs.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
It's nerve wracking too when you're doing it.
Damn. Yeah, I can't. I don't think I have. That's why I can't gamble. I can't do it.
Going back to the content thing real quick, Tony, I know you had some questions for them.
I think I sent them all to you. I don't have them.
It was generally like, what goes into it for you guys as far as like time, like editing?
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Now. I have so much going on. I got a 2.5-year-old that takes up my time all during the day, so things just escape me quickly. Yeah, I mean, what kind of time do you guys put in every week for your guys' show? It's so polished, it's so clean with sound bites and things like that. I mean, how do you guys? What kind of time goes into that? Do you have day jobs? Is what I'm asking.
The funny, we all have day jobs. We all work. The funniest part of this, the person that does all this,
it's not here
right now. Dan legit does it all. He sends the notes. He does the editing. He adds all the sound bites, which I thought were genius. I go, those are amazing.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the Instagram. Johnny does the Twitter, but the real man, the guy we need to give all the credit to is Danny. Did all the YouTube. Danny went to Comic-Con, so Danny is really the anchor of this.
Danny,
I wouldn't even know how to edit stuff.
So when we started Caught Looking, we had no experience podcasting or editing or anything. We kind of just said, well, there's so many podcasts out there. It's got to be pretty easy. So we went out and bought mics, and we had our laptops. And originally we were recording in person, and then once the pandemic hit, we don't live together, so we started to do it over Zoom every week. And as it got progressed, really, Danny just got better at it. Every week you could tell it was like, oh, he figured out how to clean that up, or he figured out how to add a soundbite in, and it was just like a week by week thing.
But to me, it's sound polished since day one. I mean, it has.
I appreciate that. That's
thank you. Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting together.
Danny's gonna love hearing this. Danny's gonna love hearing all this.
Yeah, I'm sure he's watching it on his phone now. Walking around
yeah, he can take time to watch on the phone, but he can't participate.
Exactly.
You've been replaced.
He's ruining all the haunted house for his wife.
Yeah, he's replaced.
I'll be his Joan. I'll be the Joan Rivers. I'll take over when you need it.
Do you know how to edit and do sound bites?
Oh damn! I'll learn. I've had to teach myself everything else, man. Redoing WTC, I had to teach myself WordPress for crying out loud.
Yeah, so I thought
the time.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's you can ask Papa Bear too. It's all week long. I mean, our phones are always going off, and between the DMs and the posts and the comments, and Papa Bear's breaking boxes and ripping, packs almost every night. I feel like at this point on Instagram Live and
Well,
stuff like that.
especially Chrome. I've been watching him on Chrome, man. Going,
Yeah.
All right,
Oh my
I'm gonna
God,
put
I
Stone
love
Cold
Chrome.
right here in the middle. You see right
Yeah. Oh, I brought him along. What?
So yeah, I mean, it's literally all week long. I mean, and we have a group chat where it's like, all right, who's the busiest at work today? We got, a couple of DMs if someone can go in, because we really want to like make sure everybody gets answered. Everybody is always, being engaged, because that's the whole key to this whole thing.
Right.
The one thing I love about the wrestling card hobby is that there's not a lot of us, but we're constantly, talking all day long and bouncing ideas and, who pulled this card or who's got this card. Everyone's reposting each other's stuff, and it's so great. And the way that works is if everybody engages with each other.
Right.
Which brings me to a great question, which is, since you guys had the baseball one and you've done the wrestling one, it's a totally different crowd, is it not? Like a totally different community, a totally different.
It's
totally different.
Way different.
Yeah.
Like,
So
what are the differences?
Before I'll interject to add to Tony's comments here. Give us the pros and cons of both the wrestling and sports cards and how they kind of mash together, since you guys are in both fields.
So I think something that's like a pro with wrestling cards, I'd say, is how much smaller it is in terms of a community where, we kind of all know who the players are and, who's got what, who's collecting what. And I know Papa Bear does this too all the time, where we'll talk about, who our PC is. And then, we'll get messages like, oh, I got this, let me trade for this. And you don't see that as on an intimate level in the baseball world, just because there's a million different collectors and it's just so much bigger. One of the cons I could say right off the top of my head is the market is just different in terms of like how people price stuff out. So I was always used to just, and especially in this day and age, it's eBay comps. That's what I always used. Go a little bit less if if you know who you're selling to. So if you're selling to, someone who's going to resell, take a little bit less, because they have to, make theirs too. And there's all different rules or whatever. But to me, that was always kind of understood in the baseball hobby, and then like going on Twitter or, Instagram, we'll look at cards and, I'll look at comps of some of the stuff people post, and it's kind of all over the place. But I think that's like the one thing I would love to see is like people just kind of going more towards comps to keep everyone on the same, playing field in a way.
I got a good example. When I was buying baseball cards, I would just get the penny sleeve and top loader. When I buy wrestling cards on eBay, somebody just sent me like 10 extra free cards of the same person. I bought like a Roman Reigns refractor. Somebody sent me 2 with a base with it. Like there was no need for it. It was off eBay. I don't know who this person is. There was no need for that. I was like, hey, what a gentleman. What a gentleman to do that. And it's just kind of a nice community where the cards are, less expensive, where you can pull the gold rookie card. Let's just say it's $100. That same aspect of player in baseball is $1,000 card. So it's a lot less cutthroat, where people, it's not too much, it's not too expensive, and you can help people out with their PCs. And like I thought of you the other day, somebody pulled a carrying cross out of 5. And I was like, oh, Zhan probably wants that.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you buy that? And then I went to eBay. I was like, did you buy it?
Yeah.
$40? That's a good price.
That's a good price.
And I was you that bought it.
Yeah.
So then I messaged him. I go, Zhan. Then I was like, let me see if there's any on eBay. I go, oh, there's one for $40. I go, oh my God, I would have bought that for $40. That's a steal. I go, Zhan probably bought that one. You did. All right.
Yep. And I do the same thing that you just said when I see all the like numbered Kurt Angle stuff. I think of Tony like right off. Or when I see the Daniel Bryan stuff, I immediately think of Chris Johnson, who's like the ultimate super collector.
Oh, you better take that magazine from me, man. You better take that magazine from me.
Oh, I got it, Danny. I just got this.
It's hard to find something that guy doesn't have when it comes to Daniel Bryan.
He's got everything.
Another thing I can kind of think about too is like it's so with baseball, these guys are playing all year. They're, racking up stats. It's very easy to determine, who the good players are, who the bad players are, who the popular players are and who's not. But with wrestling, stats don't matter, so it's really popularity driven, or, who has the belt or who's on TV the most. And that was something that as a sports collector first, that took a little bit to get used to, because it's like, oh, take a guy like, Daniel Bryan. He's one of the best professional wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
But
I just got this back from PSA.
Nice.
Daniel Bryan.
Nice.
Oh, there you
I
go.
bought this at Wrestling Universe for like $8. And I think maybe like $5. And I was like, it looks in good condition.
And it took some good condition. It's a 10.
Yeah.
It worked out.
I'm getting my
Sorry, go
first
on, John.
submission from PSAs coming back hopefully next week. I've never submitted before. So I just got
nice.
I finally hit stage 8
Daddy.
today. And what I sent in was an 82 I sent an 82 Flair, not 82 Flair and an 82 Hogan Cosmos from Japan. I sent those in.
Really?
And I saw someone get a PSA 6 Hogan Cosmos, went for like 8,000, and I go, mine's gotta be, I just found it in storage. Mine's gotta be at least a 6.
What'd you send it in? Like just recently?
I'm not gonna say what it is yet, but it's good.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, so you saw it in shipping. It's in shipping.
I saw it in shipping, yeah. So I saw it in
you
shipping.
saw. I know
Yeah.
you peeked on that. Oh man, I've been peeking at those all.
And then my Flair, I go, nice.
Yes.
Everything else was like,
Johnny,
okay.
we keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
I'm
sorry, Jay. Yeah, you just lost in PSA.
So yeah, that was one of the biggest things for me, at least, was like the way I look at wrestlers is not how you can look at, other professional athletes in other sports, because it's just not as cut and dry like that. Guys that, they may not be the best quote unquote professional wrestler. They're not going to, just because they are, they're not, it doesn't dictate the price in a way. It's really like, popularity and
that's storyline driven though. So if someone gets put in a bad storyline, no one's going to follow it. Then they're kind of
right. Happens.
I mean, so that's why I'm kind of worried about, Karrion Kross. I mean, because he's getting put in repackage, and it's just, is that gonna hurt his long term value? I mean,
it could, but I'm personally at the point where I'm just collecting them because I'm having a blast doing it. Like that's my only modern guy I'm doing. Like I have a bunch of vintage stuff, which I want to touch on with you guys here in a minute. But I've been saying it forever to like mainstream sports guys. Like wrestling cards are real life Pokemon. Like it's character driven.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
If they get hurt, it doesn't matter. If they're in a bad story, it doesn't matter because it's all about the character. I mean, me and Tony have talked about this. Look at the stuff with Flair after Dark Side of the Ring. Look at the stuff from Hogan several years ago. What does it do to their cards?
Doesn't hurt
them up in value.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's true. Even like take a guy like The Rock, hasn't wrestled in 10 years, hasn't been on TV in a while.
Right.
He had one of the more popular years in wrestling cards this year.
But he's an exception. He's an exception to the rule. I mean, he's just an exception because he transcended beyond. He's just a megastar. I mean, he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood. I mean, I mean, he's just God. That guy goes for presidency, whether you like it or not. It's just going to way up in value even more.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, just run. I don't care if you win or not.
Yeah, it's hard to see him ever going even down. Every year he just goes higher and higher.
Yeah, his floor level just keep going up every time. So like he's never going to go below this part. I mean, might as well. I mean, invest as much as you can.
I love. Yeah, I literally just bought because I watched the Danbury Mint. Your Danbury Mint. I just bought 2 Rock Danbury Mints.
Yeah, there are certain that one, the Vince McMahon, and there's like one.
I got the Vince.
Yeah, there's a few in there that people like actually want because they're like, I'm just going to crack them and grade them, and then I've seen them in the slabs and they look 100 times better.
Wow, I hate that set so much. I hate it.
I cut it out of I cut the Vince out of the plastic, and you don't want to know how many boxes I'm ready to go to PSA. Like 4 or 5 boxes.
Tony, did you send all your Danbury Mint from your storage to Papa Bear?
No. I remember I sold it as a set. I only collected the first 50. I sold as a set. I was very specific when I ordered my collection because you could order the binder with your name engraved on it or
the
not
binder. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I said, I don't want it. 'Cause I'm thinking future. Like I'm gone. Unless your name is Tony, I can't sell to you. So it's like, no, they put my name on it, even though I asked them not to. It's so tops to do that.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. We're saying that more and more.
Yeah.
Another question I had. You guys seem like with your crossover between baseball and then just regular wrestling, like at card shows, anything out and about, what are you seeing like people who are outside of the wrestling card bubble? How are they reacting to wrestling cards now that they're getting more fun and popular and people are actually starting to recognize them as a thing?
I mean, I think people are starting with the big names, so it's Hogan, it's Flair, it's The Rock, it's Stone Cold, guys like that, guys that maybe they recognize, maybe they watched wrestling when they were a kid. They haven't watched it in 20 years, but those are the names that they know as like the titans of, of wrestling, and they're really going back and starting there. I'm at shows, at least locally, I haven't seen a ton, but they have been getting bigger and more of a presence. I was just at a Hofstra University show on Long Island last week. Me and Danny went, and I hadn't seen that much wrestling at a card show ever, probably ever.
That's great.
There were showcases and showcases of all, and it was all slabbed stuff, all vintage slabbed, a ton of Hogan. We were so happy about it, because people need to start recognizing that it's not only a fun hobby, but I mean, look how lucrative it could be too, if you're in that, investment kind of mentality.
But I always say, from people from other sports, look at wrestling cards and go, well, listen, yeah, you guys are making some money in your cards, but it doesn't have enough zeros behind it like my basketball does, like my baseball does.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of waiting for someone. I know Gary Vee tried that by, trying to push people into the wrestling stuff, but it kind of went and it faded away real quick. Like, we need someone else out there to kind of say, a name who's like, hey, I'm investing in this stuff. This is so undervalued. I'm buying all this shit up.
Yeah.
I think that's just
true.
Yeah. I agree. You're not making thousands of dollars. You're not going to make $1,000 off a card. You typically, let's just say, typically not.
Yeah.
Even if you pull, there's very few cards that say you make $1,000 off of. You'll make $100 off of, but again, you're not buying it at that, that price point. You could buy, like I'm big on Rhea Ripley. I bought a lot of her rookie cards. You get a PSA 10, you sell for $100, $150. You're not going to sell it where the Zion Williams PSA 10 rookie cards were going for $1,000, like at one point. It was getting crazy. So it's a fun. Wrestling cards are just fun because they're not too expensive. They're just fun. They're just not.
But no, you're Tony. You're right. We need in like one of those big YouTube breakers or the vloggers, to kind of recognize like, oh, this is the same way that I feel like F1 kind of took off this year.
Yep.
Topps had put out the first F1 set, and people went nuts. And I didn't really jump in because I don't know anything about F1 racing, but people saw the value in it, and it went through the roof. And then you saw a lot of these big breakers and these big vloggers on YouTube that were like, oh, we're gonna go after that stuff. In a way, wrestling needs that, where it's like, oh, you know what? There's a lot of vintage stuff that in a good grade could bring in that kind of money a bit down the road.
Well, what about even opening something new could spark interest in saying, wait, there's wrestling cards? Oh God, yeah, they go way back in years. So if something new catches on, this is why I'm hoping the AEW stuff, it goes really well, because in the years I've been doing, I've been collecting for 35, almost 40 years probably myself. I'm 52. So it's like, I've never seen a buzz for a product like this for wrestling ever. Even at the peak of the 90s during the Attitude Era, when Comic Images put out Superstars, WCW stuff was coming out from Topps, there wasn't any real big interest. Like, oh, it's cool. There's some autographs. That's kind of cool. Some chromium cards. That's kind of cool. But this AEW, man, is like, just the buzz around it is amazing.
Not to mention AEW and Upper Deck are both going out of their way to promote it, which we've never seen.
Yep. You never
100%.
once did I ever see, a Fleer product advertised on WWE programming. Never once have I seen even Topps product advertised on a WWE programming, but AEW's doing it on their shows.
Right.
Yep. And
we kind of need it.
What I was going to mention, before we get those, YouTubers to kind of recognize it, we kind of need Topps to recognize it first. We talk about that on our show all the time, where it's like, you see all these other big entities. Baseball is obviously their bread and butter, and I 100% understand that. But in order for the hobby to grow, the main manufacturer in modern day cards needs to kind of grow, make it grow. And you're 100% right. That's why we got behind Upper Deck 100% with the AEW cards, because they were promoting it, they were tweeting about it, posting it. You turn on Dynamite on Wednesday night, you're seeing lower thirds about the promo cards that were being released, and with CM Punk and Adam Cole, and that's the way to do it. They're creating buzz for themselves, and as wrestling fans, wrestling card collector, we saw that and we're like, wow, we're just
seems like everything they're doing with all their licenses they have when it comes to figures. They're just promoting everything well.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're creating a demand for it too.
What was that?
Like the picture of all the guys signing was such a cool picture. You're like, oh, that is, you never see that when you see with Topps. It's like when the wrestler, I guess, is excited to sign their cards, they'll leak it themselves on Instagram.
Yep.
But like for them to put the picture of all of them in the room signing all the stickers and all the cards, it's definitely awesome. We need this Upper Deck AEW. We need this to go smooth and be popular, because you're right, the buzz behind it is there's a lot of expectations and it should go good, but
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it yet, guys. But have you guys ever listened to Brett's new episode that came out today, where he talked to the?
No, I saw he interviewed the Upper Deck.
Yep.
One of the Upper Deck guys. I heard a clip on his Instagram.
Yeah, I want to go back and listen to that.
There's a lot of good details. They really, both AEW and Upper Deck, from listening to that episode, they really seem to care what they're doing, like going into details about things as far as like what types of cards are released, and not putting too many autos, because you don't want to have those autos end up in the $5 bin like we're seeing with a lot of the Topps products. So yeah, definitely go check that out. It's a lot of good details. Speaking of talking about kind of modern stuff, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, but I think you guys get this rap for talking too much about modern cards, which I think is awesome, because I don't think enough people talk about modern cards. Are you just in your PC investing, whatever you want to call it, are you guys skewing more towards modern than vintage? And is that because you're just more interested in it, or just kind of talk about modern versus vintage and where you guys are on that?
I'm way more modern. Yeah, I'm way more modern. Just the fact I just got back into it like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. So I just started ripping from then. I went back and I grabbed the 91 Classic set, but I bought the complete box.
Yeah.
And I bought the complete box of the 90 Classic. It wasn't really exciting. It was.
That's
I knew the
Zhan's
cards
favorite
are in
set.
it.
It's his favorite set. So, that and his new PC is the Miz.
The Miz.
Yeah.
So I bought that to get graded, and I went right into the grading. I like the new modern stuff because I feel like you could get a Roman Reigns gold for like $20 or $30 on eBay. There's so much more potential for in the future, where the older sets, there's not really gold, not really refractors, there's not really autographs, unless you let's go back to that. What's the comic images with the Rock autograph?
Yeah.
They're not
98 Superstars.
You're not really seeing those anywhere. You can't really get them anymore. So the most vintage I go back is into the Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins rookie set, which I bought a lot of those up.
Super modern he is, man. He's like last week.
Yeah, that's super. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how, like, I don't want to talk about it because I don't know enough about it, and I just be kind of faking the conversation. Where I rather this stuff I know because I'm ripping it constantly. So
let me ask, like, do you go back and watch a lot of old wrestling, or are you mainly just modern? Because if you don't go back and watch a lot of stuff, then it totally makes sense.
Yeah, the farthest I go back is Attitude Era. I'm not going back any further than that. And
so if you don't care about that stuff, then why waste your time?
I legit I like the 91 Classic because I remember opening that as a kid. The blue border, I remember opening that as a kid, but I definitely don't remember any more vintage. I don't talk about the famous Hogan card. I never even saw it until I started collecting these cards. So that's why I kind of stay, more modern and just more my wheelhouse. And I don't want to lie or fake it to anybody.
Yeah.
So
Johnny,
it makes it interesting for you guys to talk about your rookie card segments like that. We have to go that far back. You're like, well, I don't know.
Oh shit! I'm like, oh shit! I have Danny fill me in. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, for me, it was a couple of things. I'm on the younger side, I would say, I guess, in terms of wrestling. I mean, I was born in 1990, so I wasn't watching Hogan and Warrior and Macho in their prime live. I wasn't even born yet. So my fandom really started with the Attitude Era, and that's kind of where I find myself going back to. I mean, I'll go back as far as like 94, 95, like the new generation. But that just wasn't like, those weren't my guys. Hogan wasn't my guy. Flair wasn't my guy. It was Austin. It was The Rock. It was, WCW versus WWF on Monday nights, and, a lot of those guys. So with my collecting, that's kind of where I went back to. And then with the modern collecting now, it was kind of like the closest thing to what we were collecting with baseball.
Right.
So it was like, Topps Chrome baseball, Topps Chrome wrestling. And then they would put out, like Topps Heritage and stuff like that. It was all comparable. So we knew to look for the parallels. We knew to look for the refractors and like the image variations and all that stuff. So that was kind of like our wheelhouse with the modern cards. The more that I, follow you guys and I see all your posts and listen to the show, and the more I get itchy for the vintage stuff. you know, because there are guys in that era that I do like. I love Bret Hart. I mean, obviously, it's, you know, kind of hard to
Yeah.
you know, deny that.
Yeah,
It's part of our
Tony.
group, Zan. It's part of our group. You're not part of it. You're not
Yeah.
part of it.
I know,
Sit down.
clearly.
You know, so like there are a couple of like iconic cards just being in this hobby that I would love to, you know, go back, and I think I would eventually pick those up, you know, slabbed, you know, make sure I knew the condition, and, you know, just kind of those like the pinnacles of the hobby, because in every sport there are those cards.
Right.
You know, in baseball, there's, you know, even, it's not even going back that far, but even like the Trout rookie update card from 2011, you know, that's good. That's gonna become an iconic card that, you know, I'd like to do that eventually, go back and kind of start in the 80s and, you know, work my way up. And but, you know, with all the modern stuff coming out now, and, you know, going back and kind of, you know, making up for lost time in a way, because there was a lot of stuff that came out in the 2000s that, you know, we have gone back, the Heritage and Chrome and stuff like that.
There you go. I got you covered. There you go.
And that's,
I do like
that's a
that
great
set. I bought that set like a few months ago just to pick out the Rock and John Cena cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of singles in here too. If you need something, so let me know. Right over here.
But I did like what
Yeah.
Papa Bear said though about not faking it, because, you know, it's not in our wheelhouse, and we don't want to come across like it is. And if we could be, you know, the voice of, you know, the modern collecting, or, you know, the modern collector, and then we rely on you guys to, you know, talk about a lot of the vintage stuff and educate us, you know, because you guys are so knowledgeable, and, you know,
we don't want to get called out by you guys, to be honest with you. That's why we don't go. I don't go. I was like, if we go back there, I'm gonna just butcher something and say, yeah, that was his rookie card, or
don't get
us
started on
cards.
that. Yeah,
I think one time on one of you guys' episodes, I did send you a message and you called it out, so like for a correction, like you do your corrections like that and it was like, I think it might have been, I think you guys were talking about that one of one China cut signature card.
Mm-hmm.
And someone made mention. I said, no, that's a 2000 that's a Comic Images No Mercy card.
Comic Images card.
Yes.
We thought it was. I think we thought it was Flair.
Yeah, and so
we're
you notice how
wrong.
they positioned it in there right there, so they cut out the person who she's giving a chair shot to, so that person doesn't get paid. That's why. That's why.
Exactly. But even going back to that previous question, Zan, about the differences with, you know, the hobbies, I think that's one thing that is different with wrestling, is that, you know, people are active on social media.
Yeah.
And, you know, you post something or you talk about something on a show that may be wrong, you're going to get called out on it or corrected or whatever. And it's good, because that, you know, it starts a conversation and it educates everybody at the end of the day. Whereas there are a ton of collectors in, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, they're posting, you know, whatever they want basically. And it's too big for that to be corrected. You know, so there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, it's the whole point of having WTC is to actually, you know, harness all that information and put it in one location that someone can reference. You know, and that's why I kind of brought it back after being dormant since 2014, was just because I found out my friend got a job at PSA. And he's like, yeah, I did my interview and they asked me about, you know, do you have any research experience? Like, well, I used to help my friend back in the late 90s, early 2000s for WrestlingTradingCards.com. I'm like, wait, we use that site all the time to authenticate cards from, and I go,
Really?
Yeah. Well, PSA and Beckett both have admitted now they use WTC as a resource to authenticate cards. There's been a lot of rejections. Why a lot of these independents over the last several years were getting rejected. People were getting them autographed, then submitted because they can get them authenticated that way without getting a grade. Now I said, that's the first thing I have to do. That's the first thing I did this year is I got all the independents put up on the site. You get a David Peck who sends me a message and says, hey,
yeah, that's awesome.
Nick Gage is number 150 in that BBM set from 2000. You got to get it put up there so that way I have a better shot at putting it, you know, sending it to the PSA to get graded.
Wow.
You get Rob England says, hey, PSA keeps rejecting my All-Stars with no backs, the blank back versions, you know, my 82 All-Stars. And I said, can you kind of put something? Yeah, he said, can you put them on there? It's like that. I said, and if Rob England comes to you and says, and can't get his, you know, All-Stars through, you know, do what you can to make the hobby. And I said, even if, regardless, it's information, it has to be harnessed. It has to be put somewhere, and people need to have the information. I mean, just have to have it.
With it on your website, the legitimacy of it makes it so you now have a bullet to shoot at them.
Right.
I mean, no, it's real. Now here's your. That's funny, that blank back you talk about.
Yeah.
my friend Knick sent sent in one of those cards with the blank bat, and they sent it back that
rejected. Yeah,
they got rejected.
Yeah. So Rob England asked me to put it on there. Says I've been trying for years to get them to take, because he's got a Hogan, he's got several of them, and he gave me a list of the names. And I go, well, Rob England's a very reputable source. I mean, he's not going to BS and so I said, I'll be happy to add it like that. I can definitely authenticate. He sent me a video showing the cards with the backs blank. And I said, okay. So I added on there. I said, good luck to you, man. Let me know how it goes with you with PSA and hope they'll take it.
So I have a question for you now. With knowing all of this, where do you draw the line when it comes to?
That's my issue. My issue is all because, trust me, that's my issue now because as you probably may have heard of stuff that we've talked about in the past, I have a real issue with bootlegs and technology today allows things to be made. So, I mean, I made my first card this year. You guys made a card this year.
Yep.
I mean, Kevin Nash has been a friend of mine for 15, 16 years. So he was happy to help, sign all these cards for me to help raise money for the website. It's easy and it's just too easy. And there's guys out there who are producing these cards, like classic ones. I'm not going to call anybody's names, but those, was it Starcast, the Starcast cards, there's a legit version that got put out and there's these bootleg versions that got put out as well. And guys are trying to get those bootlegs and it's like, but they exist. So I have to archive it somehow. And at least I make the notation in the information section. I don't want to use my famous word of bootlegs. So I just say it's an unofficial release.
Right.
And then it gets into the fine line between that and indie sets because it's kind of the same thing.
But indies I find more because the indies are put out by the promotion themselves. It's not like some guys goes, I'm making my own damn card set because I love these deathmatch guys.
Right.
They're actual GCW and the PWG. These guys put out their own card sets. They're endorsed by the organization.
It's just what you said. It's a fine line, no matter.
It is a very fine line.
That I do not envy that position. That there's a lot of people.
Well, I don't have to make that call. All I have to do is just, if the information exists and you have proof of this exists,
you kind of just
I put on the website, I say it's an unofficial release. You let PSA and Beckett make that call. It's not my job.
Right.
I'm actually a little mad at PSA. They denied all my all-in cards. The first set.
Really?
With they've already been graded. I've seen graded cards.
Yeah, sure.
So I sent it in. I sent it in later. I sent in half of the set, all rejected. I'm getting them all back.
When it gets rejected, as a novice like myself, a newbie, do you get a notification that says rejected?
No, it says like non-specific, non-origin or something like that for all the cards. And I go,
I got 20 cards coming in my next lot, my first lot, and 5 of them say minimum grade. There's no number associated to it.
So did you ask for a minimum grade on it?
I did, and then I didn't. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and then I emailed them, and they sent me an email confirmation says that has been removed from this order. Okay, I said I sent them another email a month later and said, "Are you sure?" I can assure you, sir, it's been removed from the order. My friend who works there sends me a text message. He goes, "Of all the bars in all the world, dude, I got your order." And he's like, it's going through your list. And so he goes, I go, can you tell me if it's got a notation on it that all the minimums were removed? He goes, it's noted on here. They still went ahead and accepted as the minimums. So I've got 5 of my 20.
I think you might be all right because I sent in an order and I was getting tickets graded and they wrote Chris Benoit's Madison Square Garden match. I didn't want it to say that. So I was like, please take that out. And the whole time it said it was going through as that. I go, damn, it's gonna say that when it came back. And it came back, they took it out. But the whole way through, they said they didn't update it. So I did get it back as Edge wins his Intercontinental Championship instead of that. So you might have a shot.
I'll wait. I'm gonna wait till I get them back and take those 5 cards and put them aside and just say, listen, I have documentation that says that you told me it would be removed and you didn't, and I want to resubmit these again. But then in my mind, I go, I kind of remember what I had them set for as far as the minimum grades. And if they didn't meet that criteria, maybe I don't want to send them in after all.
You might not send in all 5.
Yeah.
Might not send in 1 or 2.
Yeah. Well, one of them was a Stone Cold card. I want to get sent in, but whatever.
I wanted to circle back to some stuff we were talking about. You think that, we were talking about rookie cards, unofficial cards, all this stuff. It's something we don't see as much in sports cards. Do you think that's one reason why a lot of people are reluctant to jump into wrestling? Because there's just too much oddball stuff out there and nothing outside of modern. Even modern. I mean, you guys see how Topps throws the rookie card designation around. So what's your opinion on that?
It's tough. I mean, that was something when getting back into the wrestling card hobby full time. That was something that was hard for even like Danny and I, where it was like, all right, we knew with baseball, it's tops or panini, and with wrestling, it's just not the case, because we go back and look at some of the earlier cards of some of the guys that we liked, and it's a PWG card or whatever indie it's producing the cards at the time, and it was like hard to even distinguish, like, all right, is this a real card? Did the guy go and get these printed at some random place like the way we did with our cards? Like,
Yeah.
how do we distinguish if this is legit? Are people going to care? If there's a card given out at an event, for me, I like oddball stuff like that. So I was super into it from the beginning of even being a fan of baseball and going and get like the stadium giveaways.
Mhm.
I always loved that it was like rare and limited for that event. If you went to the event, you got the item. So I was always into stuff like that. But I could totally see if the cards that aren't produced by like the main quote unquote mainstream company can kind of throw somebody off in terms of, does this have collectible value?
Turns out that some of that independent stuff and those bootleg ones do have value.
Yeah, they do.
Sometimes
they
even
do.
more than official releases.
100%.
I've heard you guys all the time on your show always talk about you guys are always arguing back and forth. Like, well, this is the rookie. Well, this came out first. This came out, and so a lot of that is like, stuff from Japan or, a magazine card or cut from the back of an action figure, so like that. And you guys debate over that. It's like, well, it's the first card that ever came out. It's on cardboard. I mean, it's hard to determine. It really is.
It is very hard. There's no other sport where you have to argue what the rookie card is like in, every other sport.
Not to this extent.
Not to this extent. Yeah, you could argue, but it's not. Not to this extent. I think my friends so the funny thing is my friends know I collect wrestling cards, and every time I say I collect, I haven't watched wrestling in 15 years. I'm wrestling. Everybody hasn't watched wrestling. I used to watch it with Stone Cold. I used to watch it with Hogan, this and that. So I think a lot of people don't collect wrestling cards because they're not actually watching the product. That it doesn't have to do with other cards. But then I walked into Filth Bomb the other day, and I go to my friend. He's like, "Oh, I just opened a box of your wrestling cards. It was only $100 for a box of Chrome with 2 guaranteed autographs." I go, "Oh," he goes, "Yeah." So he's like, the value said I was going to buy baseball. I was like $300. I go, "Well, how'd you do?" He's like, "Oh, I got this Alexa Bliss gold auto. I got this." It's like, "I got this Rhea Ripley at a 25. I got this Mandy Rose at a 25." I go, "So hey," he's like, "How'd you do?" I go, "You did real good, man. You did real good." And he goes, I was like, "You're gonna sell that Bliss?" He has the Bliss right now on eBay it's at $108. I go, "This paid for the whole box. This is another $25." He goes, next thing I know, I came back the next day. He ripped 3 more boxes of it, and didn't do quite as good. Yeah, it didn't do quite as good, but you could. It's not as expensive as the other products out right now, and like a box of Panini Prism. How much is that's like $400 to $500 for a hobby box. So people just love ripping packs.
When we're done recording, we got to talk off air. I've got some news for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk off air before this, but you guys really didn't want to do that, so I was like, all right, I guess we'll just shoot it on air.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, we were going to have you as a surprise guest, and
I had to be surprised, man.
Somebody was turning against me that was on with me the whole night. So
yeah, it's back to the the question is just it's so we argue about it all the time with the rookie cards. Going back to that, and the one thing we always say on the show is like, well, LeBron James has always been LeBron James. He never had a different name or a gimmick or, I worked for a different company. He was always just LeBron James, the basketball player in the NBA. So it's very easy to say, okay, what was the earliest card? 2003. Okay, that's it. But then you take a guy like Kane, where we've argued, it's like, well, what's the quote unquote Kane rookie card? Well, is it when he was Isaac Yankem? Is it when, it's so, it's debatable, in terms of just how you feel about it. And that was something like took so long to kind of, I guess, like accept it.
Right.
That's why we say buy them all. That's why we always say just buy them all.
Yeah.
That's
usually
so true.
You can. They're not too expensive. You usually can buy them all.
You really can.
Too.
Yeah.
This is maybe a little bit of a longer question. This is kind of my final question. I don't know if Tony's got anything after this.
I'm just going with the flow, buddy. Going with the flow.
What is the drawback and the disconnect between wrestling fans and participating in the hobby? Because they will shell out all the money for the shirts, the figures, the program, all video games, all this stuff. And I think a lot of people I hear will say, well, I can't afford a hobby box. Well, maybe you can't because you just bought like 5 figures
or one replica belt, or
yeah. And from what I've seen, because I used to collect figures, like that stuff doesn't appreciate like cards do, whether graded or ungraded. So me and Tony are constant, and other people, outside of the content creation, I've been trying to talk to people about like, what is the disconnect? If you're a wrestling fan, why are you not collecting cards like everybody else in the world who's a fan of whatever sport they are, or F1 or Pokemon or whatever? If they're a fan, they collect the cards. But with wrestling, it doesn't seem that way. So where do you guys think the disconnect is here?
This is
I don't know, man. Like, I look at it too. I'm part of the Major Wrestling Figure Pocket. I see people just bought like 4 figures, and I'm like, oh, I was just at Target today. Wow, this figure is $29.99. I go,
Yep.
it was a cool figure. Don't get me wrong. It was the Rock Ultimate car. That's a cool figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, you buy 3 of these, the price could go up on it. They're not going to usually go up too much. But in my head, I'm like, well, I'd rather just buy a hobby box of cards and I get a chance out of a 1-on-1 card. The thrill. It's just, man, wrestling figure collectors, they love their wrestling figures. I don't know. I was always a card guy. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like Danny's biggest pet peeve. We talk about this all the time where it's like, I don't understand, why is no one buying my card? They'll go and buy, some t-shirt that they sold in an AEW event for $100. But this autographed card of the wrestler that they're claiming they love, they're just not into it. We can't figure it out. Because there certainly is a disconnect with, wrestling cards and wrestling fans. It's not the same as, baseball, even like other sports. Even if you aren't like a hardcore collector, everyone seemed to always have cards, laying around somewhere. They got, their parents collected and gave it to them, or, oh, when I'm feeling nostalgic, I'm going to open a pack, and just see what I get. And with wrestling, it's really like pulling people, and really just like tugging at them to get into it. And it's not like you could debate the collecting aspect, because they're collecting other things, replica belts, autograph. You go to a show and people are lining up to get autographs, 8x10s and belts and whatever else. So there is that aspect there of like the collecting trade show type, even like something like this. It's there. It's just we were trying to figure out, why it hasn't, kind of went straight to cardboard yet.
I think I'll start asking that question more the more shows and conventions I do. Like I just did Kurt and I were in San Antonio a couple weeks ago for Big Texas Comic-Con. And I think we only do 1-day appearances for him. So it's like, I think that day, maybe 3 people brought a card to get signed by him. And every time someone brings a trading card to get signed, I go, oh, you collect wrestling cards? Oh, I have a few. Yeah, I love it like that. I always, name drop WTC, half know it, half don't know it. But it's everybody's going for 8x10s. They got a t-shirt they want signed, a pop figure, something, it's just something about cards. I don't understand why they don't collect it. I mean, especially if it's for long-term value, or I don't know, it's easier to store.
Right.
Easier to store. And I haven't seen any type outside of like an actual 1-of-1 ring used event gear somewhere outside of something like that. I've never seen any type of collectible in wrestling appreciate like cards.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's funny you bring up that you could we'll go back to the Miz. Both of Miz on Dancing. I don't know, both of Miz on Dancing with the Stars. I think it's phenomenal. But you could wait to go get his autograph for $50 in line and meet him for $50, and you get his autograph on an 8x10. Or you could just buy probably on eBay right now for like $15 his autograph on a guaranteed card.
Yeah, but the flip side of that for me, for fans like that, part of that $50 is because you get the experience of actually meeting them. You're in their presence.
That is true.
So you're paying for an experience.
That is true.
But if I can't be there, hey, for $15, I can own a card. I own a Miz autograph card.
With the cards, you've got the built-in scarcity of 1-of-1s and limiteds and parallels and stuff. So
it's a built-in scarcity as well.
Modern.
Yeah,
that's the biggest draw to me. That the thrill, like you don't know what's in that pack.
Exactly.
You're just buying. The figure you're buying. I'm buying that figure. I do like what AEW did with the chase figures, the 1 in 1,000, 1 in 500 out. That does make. I do.
That just goes back to them knowing what they're doing with marketing and promotion.
Yeah, I go to the aisle today. And I was like, oh, let me go see if these wrestling figures are there. The 1 in 500. Nope. I just went.
Nope.
bad about
Go
my
right
business,
back to the
but-
cards. Go find my cards now.
Yeah. Oh, they're never. I was in 3 Targets today looking for wrestling cards. Oh, 3 cards, and just the only box the card I saw was a WNBA Prism box, and I just left it
Yeah.
there.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about that.
Cards are gone.
It's that's why, like, originally when we were talking about starting the podcast, we were like, well, this is what we collect. We love
Right.
wrestling and we're collectors. So it kind of makes sense. Like, this is the route we want to go. And when we started doing research on, like, who's out there and who does, similar shows like this, or, who the people in the community are, we found, guys like you, and we were like, well, where is everybody?
Yeah.
We're looking at this, we're obviously collectors first, but you collect things, in hopes that it appreciates in value, going forward. So when we took that mentality going into wrestling, we're seeing these crazy numbers in the last, couple of years. Where is everyone? It's like, well, there's no one here. There's, a couple people. All right, well, let's try to build this now, because
Right.
we need to bring that, kind of bring light to the hobby, and especially in this wrestling world, because there just was a lack of it.
Is that the motivation you guys have for running your show? Is because you want to go out there and showcase cards, wrestling cards?
I think I'd say so.
I want people to look at my Instagram and be like, damn, he has that card. What a good idea for him to get that card graded. Like, that was a great idea. Like, oh, that's, and to get other people interested. Like, oh, why would he get that? Oh, that was cool. So I really, I want people to be impressed with my collection. And not like that was a good idea. And like, so somebody had did you see the out of 10 BJS Rock 9.5 somebody had?
Mm-hmm.
I legit goes, wow, that's impressive. I tip my cap to that guy. I go, damn, that is cool. Then I'm looking at eBay, like, maybe I could buy one, but no, it's way out of price. But,
Gonna have to.
I was always like the opposite collector of what Zhan just described, where it was like, I love wrestling so much, but with figures, man, I had a couple, and it was like they were in my display case, and then it was, I just kind of look at them when I'm in my room.
Right.
With programs, they go on my bookshelf in a stack, just collecting dust. But with cards, you could trade them, you could sell them, you can, go for a rainbow and collect every parallel of a specific card. You could take a wrestler, go after every, like what you're doing with Karrion Kross, and that's what I loved about it. And with t-shirt collectors and stuff like that, maybe t-shirts a little bit different, but with figures and stuff like that, it just wasn't, you don't get that same feeling. And we were just kind of looking at each other like, well, we need more people to talk about this. It's so much fun, and there's a lot of value to it.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I think the guys who come from other sports, just good, like I said, doesn't have enough zeros behind it to pique my interest.
Yeah, that's the truest statement. That's why.
It's unfortunate. I mean, but
it all has to start somewhere, because there was several products.
Here's the thing, though. If you get a guy who's like, well, listen, my profit margins aren't as much as they are when I'm doing basketball or baseball or football, stuff like that, I say that's a lie. It's a 100% lie. And my point is
probably more.
I think they're very comparable, because if you do the actual math and the return on your investments on certain things, if a dollar card in wrestling could turn around and I could probably flip it for $5, $10, whereas a dollar card, it's going to be equivalent to maybe a $10 card that goes for like $30, $40 in baseball. The margins are still the same. It just doesn't have enough zeros behind it to make it pique their interest. I want thousands. I don't want
exactly
hundreds.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've been saying it for damn near 30 years. All cards across the board, especially in sports, because you have stats, like you were saying earlier, because stats affect your value. So it's 100% a stock market. It's all it really is. When to buy, when to sell, checking the stats and sports. We don't have that to worry about that too much when it comes to wrestling. Just bad storyline. They'll write him something better later. I still like that guy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. On the flip side of that, you have a lot less to lose too, and it's a lot more fun. Like, I have fun with any kind of wrestling cards that I'm into, and it's just not the same thing as a lot of modern sports, which I like to talk about this a lot. How many times do you guys go back and watch Name a WrestleMania? 2 weeks ago, maybe you want to go back and check out that Raw because maybe you missed it. Like, I don't do that with sports. I don't talk to too many people that do that with sports, but yet wrestling, you can go back 100 years and watch stuff if you can find it. Right in the middle, go back to modern. You can bounce kind of all over the place. And your cards, whether it's like Tony said, a bad storyline, or maybe maybe they're out of the business. I still know people who player collect people who aren't even wrestling anymore because it's nostalgia, it's the attachment, and that's what wrestling's got going for it that sports cards and everything else doesn't.
Tell me, if they had one, I would buy all over it. When I was younger, I loved Iron Mike Sharp. I'd be all over collecting him.
There you go.
But they have no cards for that guy.
No, it's. I mean, it's true. You don't see that in the sports world, especially now with the sports hobby, because everything is. I feel this way. Unfortunately, it's gone very stock investment centric, and it's something that on Quote Looking, the baseball show Danny and I were doing, we'd argue about that all the time, because he'd be like, "Oh, buy this guy, buy this guy, buy." I'm like, I'm not buying that guy because I don't like that guy.
Right.
I'm collecting what I like, and I could never get behind like the quote unquote investment, value. I'm like, well, the guys that I like, I hope they turn into, good investments. But if they don't, they don't. And, I still take that, feeling today. Like I collect a lot of Bret Hart cards because I just love Bret Hart, loved him growing up. And I know
Couldn't
the
tell
modern
that.
stuff.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah. The
What? Oh God.
Hey,
the
hey,
modern.
buddy. Hey, he helped make you, so knock it off.
That's
Oh hell yeah.
It is true. But I know, like, I'm go back to the 2021 Topps Chrome set that just came out. There's a Bret Hart insert, the 5-Timers Club. That card, maybe it's $2-3. It's probably not going to be more than that, going forward. But I love Bret Hart, so I got it. It's in my PC because that's just, I don't really care.
right.
And I think that's something that doesn't translate in 2021 as much in some of those other sports. People are trying to figure out who the next Zion Williamson is going to be, or the next LeBron, or whoever. That's who they're putting, their money into. And that's one thing that drew me to
crazy
this.
too, because the money they put into that is crazy mad money. Like I made this joke many times before, but at Luka from Dallas Mavericks, I mean, what, $4.2 million one of his cards sold for?
Yeah.
That dude is 22, 23 years old. He's an Achilles injury away from being a $40 card. I mean, it's just crazy.
And we've seen it time and time again in the
Yeah.
past. Like, it's funny,
Oh,
the junk wax wrestling is now outperforming the stuff that was supposed to put your kids through college in the early 90s.
It's reversed.
Yeah.
It has.
That's a good point.
All right, Tony, you got anything else for these guys before we let them out of here?
No, I was just kind of going through the questions that people kind of had in here. So like that, people were actually talking about, asking what they thought about the WCW autographs, because those are continue to keep rising in value.
Oh man, those are so cool.
Just that's why when the Major Fig guys put those out, I had to order some. It's not my part of my PC. I gotta be very careful how I spend my money these days now, because I'm just Kurt Angle, and then Kurt Angle. That's it. So it just, I said, I have to have them though. I have to have them because they remind me of those 98, 99 superstar. I mean, the cards. I love them. So of course, of all the people in the world to get doubles in his pack, it had to be me.
Really?
I got $2.
Wow.
I got 2 Sterlings in the same pack.
Oh yeah,
I did. No, they took
that.
really good care of me. Whoever was actually handling the shipping on that, he sent me a replacement and said, "Oh, just keep that one too.
Cool.
Use it for trade." So that was really nice of him to do that. So, and I traded one of you guys. I must have traded to Danny.
I think Danny.
I traded him a Sterling like that for a Maven. I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was Danny. Yep.
He was the first one.
And we love stuff like that just because it, again, whether it's in our collecting wheelhouse or not, it's bringing attention to wrestling cards,
Right.
to an audience that may or may not have gotten into it, without that, So like there were a ton of those sets that were made. I think Papa Bear, I forget how many sets was it, 300, 400,
475, I think it was.
that were sold. Who knows how many collectors this is their first set.
Right.
And now they have this, Brian Myers autograph card, or Mark Sterling card. They may turn around and say, you know what? This was a lot of fun. I'm going to go buy a hobby box of Chrome now, or I'm going to pre-order an AEW set. And to me, that's why I said I was in full support of it, because the more eyes that can get onto the hobby, the more fun it's going to be for everybody.
450 total sets put out.
Yeah.
So you guys know.
Okay, I knew something.
Which is
I
still super low print.
It is. And there's a cool website. I went and checked that out at, by the way, just so you know. So I went and checked it out. It's called WrestlingCards.com. I found it.
Definitely check out that site.
All right, guys. Thanks
Uh,
for joining us today. Tony, has anybody else got a question?
No, but Matt said I need to do some cowbell, so I got some cowbell for you. So
There we go.
Yeah, where was that?
I just got this. I just got, Husker Halves. If you guys have, collect singles and stuff like that, Husker Halves have been a staple in the business for wrestling cards for damn near over 20 years, almost as long as I've had the website. And he says, hey, send me your address. I got something special for you. You're going to like it. And I go, all right. But he wouldn't tell me what it was. And I get this box. It's this small flat rate box. It's all bulging out and torn apart. And I'm like, what the hell's inside there? It's like, I go, dude, I think whatever you said is broke.
PSA return.
It's broke, dude.
Yeah.
And I open it up, it's some stupid cowbell thing, all because we talked about a cowbell one night or something like that.
It's the official show gimmick now.
Now it's gonna be the gimmick.
I said it was a hit tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did use it tonight. So
Made the show.
I will take this
definitely works.
Bash someone in the head with it. They better
Before
sell
we
it too.
sign off, we want to just thank you guys for doing what you guys do, and doing something like this tonight. Like, we've been talking about this all week. How
Yes, thank you.
there's never been anything like this, that we've been a part of, and this is what I think is going to drive the wrestling card hobby even further. Meetups like this, bringing people on and just talking about your collections. I loved seeing what everybody had all night. It was like a virtual flea market, and even if no one sells or buys anything, it's just people talking about what they collect and what they love. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do every week. So
I was hoping someone could come on and tell me what this was about. I posted that, man, because I found it in my storage unit, because the back is the 1990 Classic, but the back it's signed Macho King Randy Savage.
Whoa,
Oh, that's awesome.
No clue. No
That's
clue.
awesome.
I wanted someone to like, yeah, that looks legit. Like, I'm looking online.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want
send it to my
to
buddy.
also say the best part about this is Danny was on the podcast telling us about this, and I was listening. I go, man, that'd be great. I would love to be on something like that. Like, why aren't they asking us to be on that? I would love to talk about that. He goes, I have to edit this all. I have to edit this all out now because we are going to be on as surprise guests. So everything you just said out. I go, oh, perfect, even better. So we had to edit all that out.
It's great.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on, and thanks for doing the podcast. It's Johnny, it's just what you said. Like, and I would encourage more people, if you're watching this or listening to this, or you're in the chat right now, if you want to start creating content for wrestling cards, do it. There's different avenues for, like I said earlier, I don't necessarily think this, but a lot of people think you guys do too much modern. Well, who cares? Do the modern. There's plenty of people doing vintage. There's plenty of people doing stuff, in odd years. There's people out there doing
I think
stuff.
more people
just
do
for
it's great
sets.
because
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening is that our small group of people now who are doing these little podcasts and things like that are kind of inspiring other people to get out there and talk about what they have, whether they still collect or not. This is why, rest his soul, Chef Carl, who recently just passed away, he was looking to do a podcast and start doing one, talking about the stories behind these kinds of cards, talk about that era of wrestling and, why these cards are so special. It was all gonna be card related and story related with, the history of wrestling.
Like with events and pictures and stuff like that.
Oh
So,
wow, that's
yeah,
that's a really great idea.
And he was perfect for that because his the 88 Wonderama is like right up his wheelhouse, like one of his favorite sets ever. And then of course he just recently passed like that. And it's just I love to see more people like that who are passionate about even certain eras. Like, hey, I'm a big fan of the 1990 Classic series, man. Let's talk about that for every week. For
going
the rest of my
super
life.
deep dives. Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about it all. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Pick a set and talk about it.
Absolutely.
There's so much room in this hobby for all of us to kind of do what we love and talk about what we love and produce what you want. I mean, that's how we were inspired to start our show, was listening to Brian Myers and Matt Cardona talk about figures every week.
Yep.
So the three of us were fans of that show. We're like, wow, we love how passionate they are about figures. Well, we talk about cards all day long. Let's just record it. And it'll almost be like a weekly hangout. That's kind of what we're going for. And now it's spiraled into this, and there's so much room to, for everybody to put more stuff out. And that's how it's going to grow.
I think it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. It really is.
No, it's exciting. It really is.
Let's end on that, guys. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Come on. Who
Wanna do a
doesn't
follow
know?
there?
Who doesn't know?
Johnny, go ahead. Johnny, go ahead.
We still got some jabronis in here, I'm sure.
So we are on Instagram at Card Foundation Pod. We are on Twitter at Card Found Pod. Our show, the Card Foundation podcast, comes out every Thursday on Apple, Spotify, Google, pretty much wherever you could find podcasts these days. Being part of the Major Pod Network, we're lucky to have them put us out on all of their platforms and everything. We're on social media all day, every day. If you have questions, DM us. We're happy to help as best we can. We're doing razzes and box breaks and all that kind of stuff. We just launched our YouTube page, which I think we actually just hit 100 subs. So now we can change our URL.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the URL is because it was like a million numbers and letters.
Mhm.
So I think Danny's going to change that. So as soon as we get that,
I didn't ever do
post
that. I should do that to mine. I'm still using the same generic piece of shit they gave me to begin with.
Exactly. Yep. So we're looking to change that, and we'll be posting some videos and stuff. So yeah, that's basically everything we have.
Can I interest you guys in some free swag for being on?
Yeah. Never turn that down.
Who here likes Trish Stratus? Who likes Trish?
I'm not gonna say I don't like Trish Stratus.
No, I'll give you.
Yeah, we had a tough breakup. So I don't really.
Yeah, you and me both.
I would love that.
All right. One's going. Which one? I got Hurricane. I got Chavo, Tajiri. Come on, that's your guy right there. Robbie E.
Get that guy out of here.
Ron Killings. Al Snow. Candace.
Man, you have a lot of hate by that.
Dude, I don't normally talk. I mean, I do kind of touch basically a little bit about it. I used to work for RVD for years. So he had a comic book store in Los Angeles that went out of business. And after it went out of business, we were trying to move it a little bit on the store, eBay store, it's like that. And then one day, I think that his accountant got tired of seeing all the inventory in the books. So we signed a little contract with each other where, I bought it from him, which is, but I basically, he gave me everything in the store, in the comic book store.
Oh. I just watched an RVD video today I liked.
We don't talk anymore, so don't even name drop me, please. We don't talk no more.
No, I did not. I just saw it on Instagram. If you follow him on Instagram, it was a weird
job. That one, or Don Marie.
No, send me. He's surprised. I want that one. John Morrison.
Okay, I'll say John Morrison. You got it.
I
got Matt Hardy.
I like John Morrison. I'm a big John Morrison guy.
Okay, you got it, man. Send it to you.
Real cool. Real strange cat.
Yeah, I've worked with him for a few years. I've got a bunch of 8x10s, and yeah, when I first met him and Melina were together living in like I can't remember where it's by the beach in SoCal, and we were there because we were just starting to pick up Melina as a client. And he was still with WWE and had no interest in doing stuff with us. And then so him and I just sitting off to the side while my partner at the time was talking to Melina how things are going to work, and him and I were just having coffee and just been friends ever since. So
there you go.
Well, actually, quick story. So his Topps Chrome card that just came out seemed like the majority of them.
Yeah, right across the middle.
He missed the white mark where to sign the card. And he ran, he signed it across his, his body or on top of the card.
He went all Kurt Angle on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Kurt Angle. Yes, you're right.
So
what's his? Did you ever ask him why he did that, Kurt Angle? By the way,
I'm going to now. I actually have to call him this week. I'm going to actually ask him why. A lot of your cards, your autograph cards, this particular run of series, all off the sides like that. I don't know why.
Papa Bear ended up sending a picture of the card to Matt Cardona and said, "Dude, can you ask your boy why he's signing his card and not the sign spot?" And he started just laughing. He's like, "You know what? I'm going to reach out to him this week and ask him." So
I'd love to hear the story.
Well, hopefully we'll figure, once we get an idea, we'll definitely let you guys know.
That's awesome.
That's great. The guys that just signed in the middle.
Just right in the middle. Yeah. Well, it's like the 2002 Fleer All Access had the off the mat graph autographs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And some guys took that a little too literal because they wrote right above. They wrote like most of them are like on the top, right there, not on the ring mat. Trish Stratus, all her cards are up on the top. She has 4 cards where she actually signed the ring mat. And those are the 4 cards that she had given to me that I turned around and said, "Can you sign them right here for me?"
Wow.
So
those people that miss it, I guess just aren't card guys. That's how I take it. They just aren't card guys.
100% not card guys like that. I didn't collect that stuff. All I care about is my body, man. My abs. I'm an ab guy. That's what I am. I'm an abs
just
guy.
lay him out on the table.
Just
throwing this Herbie Hancocks all over it. But,
well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. If you guys want to